very good afternoon to everybody. I think it's good evening, and thank you, sir, for that nice and small little introduction. I'm here to speak about functional foods and genetically modified foods. The topic is actually very diverse, so I'll be dealing my topic separately. Functional foods is a different topic, and genetically modified foods is a different topic altogether. So to start with, I will start with the functional foods. So nowadays, there are many companies or many kinds of foods which talk about consume this food material. It has got soluble fiber. It has the capacity to reduce the LDL cholesterol level, or take this food, it reduces your blood glucose level, or it controls your blood glucose level. So you keep hearing and seeing different kinds of claims on food labels and all that. So when they claim something that there is some bioactive component and that it has got the capability of reducing your hypertension or CVD or diabetes or whatever, that itself is called a functional food. In 2000 BC, if you look at our history, people would say eat this root or a bark or a leaf or something, and later on the theory changed in 1000 AD and people started saying that there's a problem with the root, so you pray and then it would go away. If you have a problem, it would go away. And then by 1850 AD, then again they said that praying is just a superstition, so you have to drink some tonic or syrup or some potion, and then your disease or your problem would be controlled. By 1940 AD, this theory again changed, and then they said that there is a problem with the potion again, and then you swallow the pill. Again there was a problem. In 1985 AD, people said the pill is not good, probably you'll have to go for antibiotics, and people started gulping a lot of antibiotics. Then again in 2000 AD, people started saying eat this root, bark, leaves, or whatever it is, because it has got some bioactive component, it is a functional component, and then it has got the capability of reducing your glucose or hypertension or CVD or whatever. So as they say, dunya gol hai, this theory also has come back to the same point, and after 2000 years we are again saying the same thing. And this was said in about 2000 years ago by Hippocrates, who said that when you consume proper food or a healthy food, then that cures a lot of diseases and disorders. But now, with our lifestyle, metro lifestyle, lots of stress, pollution when you go onto the road, desktop jobs, no physical activity, junk foods, you have lots of electronic gadgets which don't make you move at all. So all these things take us up and land up into hospital with different kinds of problems, like heart diseases, cancers, diabetes, and many different kinds of disorders. And we have got a different and new modern theory of disease which says that because of all these, you get into stress, and because of this stress, you are having different kinds of free radicals which are generated in the body, and then they are the mother of all diseases. You get cancers, you get heart diseases, you get increased hypertension and all that. And then there is lots of science which is saying that for those you need to have the functional components or the functional foods, because you will have to fight all these so-called degenerative lifestyle diseases. Now the solution for all these lifestyle diseases is being looked upon by different kinds of scientists and researchers, and in fact the food industry, and they are giving a solution that functional foods can be one of the best solution to fight out or to reduce the prevalence of these lifestyle disorders. So precisely to define what functional foods are, it is very simple. It is nothing but it is just a component which is there in the food, which provides health benefits, which is beyond the basic nutrition. It is also said that the foods which are in concentration of one or more ingredients, if they can be manipulated, like say for example you take orange juice, it has been added with some more amount of vitamin C. Not that vitamin C is not there in the orange juice, but then you have added some more extra amount of vitamin C, and then you have modified. So that is being made into a functional beverage. It is nothing but your orange juice enhanced with an antioxidant vitamin C. So it is just that you add some one or more ingredients, you manipulate or modify, and you take a food and you call it a functional food and label it that it is a functional food which has got so and so capability of reducing so and so disorder or prevent the onset of some kinds of disorder. So functional foods, according to generally accepted definition, it says that they are all the foods which are whole foods. That means you take your whole pulses, whole dals, whole grains. They are all functional foods itself now. But then, the definition also it says the same. It is nothing but inclusion of whole foods, fortified foods, enriched foods or enhanced foods or dietary components which can reduce the risks of any kind of chronic degenerative disorders, and they have got the potentiality to have some kind of physiological benefit to the body when you consume those kinds of foods. Now if you have to classify them, they are the ones which are unmodified. That means you take an apple and you consume it, you say that it is a functional food. You take a strawberry, it is a functional food because it has got some bioactive components which have got the capability and they can be labeled as a functional food. They are all unmodified foods. Then you have the modified foods, which probably most of the industrialists sitting here would be doing it. It is nothing but you include some component into the food material which you are developing. It can be a noodles or vermicelli or a bar or whatever it is. You modify, add some nutrients and then make it more better. So to come with what are all the functional foods, it's nothing but your whole pulses, the millets, the vegetables, the fruits, everything. And they have got all these functional components, that is the fiber, antioxidants, minerals, vitamins, etc. So similarly, they're all the functional foods. It is nothing but they have got that anthocyanins, anthoxanthins or luteins and carotenoids and all that, which are all the useful components which can be claimed as functional foods. Similarly, your millets which have been forgotten for various reasons, then all the whole cereals, whole pulses, they are nothing but your functional foods. But then coming to the industry point of view, again they are developing different kinds of functional foods. If we categorize them, they are categorized into 4 different components. First one is a fortified product. I was talking about the orange juice where you add some amount of vitamin C, it becomes an enhanced vitamin C functional food. And then you have enriched products, like say for example you take your margarines or butter or anything and you add some phytosterols or phytostanols, or you add some amount of fiber, or you take milk, curd, yogurt, you add some more amount of lactobacillus bacteria and all that. They are nothing but enriched products, which are again the second category of functional foods. Then you have the third category, that is altered products. You take an ice cream. You know that when you consume ice cream, it is a very calorie dense product. So the calorie density is brought about into ice cream by fat and all that. So instead of fat, if you add some carboxymethyl cellulose or you add some soluble fiber and all that, and you replace or reduce the calorie density, it becomes a functional food again. It's an altered product. Then you have the fourth one, that is the enhanced commodities. By changing the feed composition of which is being fed to an animal or so, you will be deriving some kinds of products like omega-3 fats enriched eggs, or LDL reduced chicken, or some kinds of food. So you have 4 different categories of functional food products, and the industries usually, when you categorize your foods, they will fall into one of these foods. But then when you say that this is a phytosterol enhanced butter or a margarine or whatever product it is, you have to label it, and the claim has to be authenticated to say that when you consume this kind of product, it gives so and so results. So that is the claim, which is again very, very important. So they come along with the nutrient claims and the labels. So if you look at one example, McDonald's, there is lot of debate on this one. So 1950s it has come, and then people started gorging on lots of amounts of these fast foods and junk foods and all that. By 1992, they said this is one of the major outburst of fast foods and all that. It has led to lot of obesity, and obesity is the mother of all diseases and disorders. So when you have obesity, you have diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and all different kinds of problems. So when the customer or the consumer started to know about the problems when you consume this kind of junk foods, the industry also revolutionized, and they started saying that, listen, we are giving lots of salads in the food and that is more healthier. And then they have brought the concept of functional foods or functional ingredients or functional products into the same product, and they started promoting, because the consumer would always love to have such kind of food. So the industry also is changing from years and years, and you can see over the years. This is just one example. So in the past, when a product would come, the consumers' insights were never taken into consideration. They would just develop a product, they would bring into the market, and then the product was either a hit or it was gone. But nowadays, they take the consumer insights before the release of the product. They would ask, if I am going to release a pasta into the market, what is it would you expect from the pasta? So they take some kinds of input from the consumer, and they start expressing that when you consume this pasta and all that, it is a low glycemic index food, then would you like to consume? So they enhance the quality attributes of the product by saying that, listen, when you consume this processed food, it is going to help you in so and so way. And then people have started looking and modifying and developing foods so that the consumers would get the different kinds of food products. So most of the food industries now, they are concentrating on incorporating a functional ingredient into the product and promote the product, because the consumer is a learned consumer now. He would like to take a product which gives some kind of health benefit for the same amount of the money which is being paid for the product. So why this functional food industry is growing or increasing day after day? There are many reasons for this. One is the aging population, then the self-efficacy or autonomy in healthcare. When you read or when you learn something about the functional foods and their benefits for diabetes or any kind of degenerative disorders, then people start going and picking up the products by themselves from the market, and they start consuming the product. So that is one reason why the functional food industry is growing, and there is a massive growth in the functional food industry. And then there is another reason, that is increased healthcare costs. When you take a margarine which is enriched with phytosterol, every 100 grams is giving some kind 3 grams of phytosterol. Now, phytosterol, it is a very good product, and there are clinical trials which have been published in JAMA and big journals which said that they are equivalent to fibrates or statin drugs. So,
say something about the food laws and something that will be more appropriate. I mean, connecting to this subject also.
Okay, fine, sir. Okay. So these are the reasons why the functional food industry is growing in a large way. I'll come to it at the end, sir.
I think you have to emphasize more on that.
Yeah, sure.
The topic is on that.
Okay, sir. They are there in virtually in all the food categories, and functional foods, they provide to consumers different kinds of benefits. Now, when you're talking about the legislative aspects or the legal aspects, when you're talking about any kind of functional food being promoted, the legal claims have to be authenticated, and they have to be put in the nutrition label so that the consumer will not claim that after consuming this product there is not much which has been benefited or there is some kind of problem. So the development and commerce of these products is definitely complex, expensive, risky, because the special requirements or the claims which you say should be authenticated also. Then I'll quickly go into genetically modified foods. They are nothing but, when you talk about GM foods, you are really worried whether it is good or bad, because there is a lot of debate which is going on, and it is very scarier not to know the results or not to know the facts about GM foods. It is nothing but a food where there is a gene which is added or a gene which is removed off. Now that will be done by a simple technology called as recombinant DNA technology. It is not actually very simple. There might be a gene which is harmful, and there might be gene in some other source which is very, very good. So what they do is the harmful gene will be removed, and they add the useful gene, and then they insert the DNA into the plant or the animal. Like for example, we have Arctic fish, and this fish actually, it is there in very, very cold climatic conditions where the temperatures will be to a freezing, to minus 50 or minus 60 degrees centigrade, and the fish is live and it will not get frozen at all. So there is a gene which is anti-freezing gene. So strawberries and all that, when they are grown in cold climatic conditions, they become very frosted strawberries. So they took a gene from this fish and they put it into the strawberries, and now you have a strawberry even under cold climatic condition. When there is snowfall or something, it has got resistant to the frost. So you have three different categories. You insert a gene and get an acquired trait. You remove a gene and you remove an trait which you don't want it, and changing the process of catabolism. Like tomato, you have GM tomatoes and all that, where you have the color modified, the pulp modified, you want the flavors, aroma and all that, so that can be done. So that is by micro injections into the animal, it will be injected into the embryo, whereas into the plant, a particle gun will be used to shoot into the plant, and then it will be allowed to grow. So there are different kinds of GMO products and foods. You have the corn, the canola, potatoes, tomatoes, squash, watermelons, many different kinds. Similarly, the products which are prepared with these GM foods are called as GM products. So you have different in our country. If you go and buy a Pringles potato chips, it might have the GM genetically modified potato which is coming. So it comes off into the food chain, and we will be consuming that. So it is very common, quite common in United States, Canada, Australia, Argentina, China only 1%. Then in India we have some of the crops like the wheat, the rice, the cotton, maize, brinjal, and you have some maize things, and then you have the company protocols which have given some thumbs up to some kinds of traits like they are herbicide tolerant, insect resistant, etc. Now coming to the potential benefits, why should we actually talk about GM foods? Are they really beneficial to us? One is yes, because they have got the capability of increasing the yield, and they can reduce the hunger. There can be a reduction in the use of non-renewable sources. You can use less amount of pesticides, insecticides. Crop quality can be improved, more resistance to insects and all that. And when you talk about the risks of the GM foods, again there can be some kinds of resistance developed. Super weeds can be a problem, and there are some kinds of problems like there can be failure of antibiotics, and the biodiversity problems can be there. There are some kinds of economic hazards like elimination of competition. Suicide seeds is a very big problem. And then the companies or the authorities which talk or which authenticate these GM foods. In India, we have the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Changes, which was established, the special committee in 1989. It was given through the Gazette number 621. It is called as 1989 Rules for GM Foods. And there are these RDAC, RCGM, GEAC and SBCCs which monitor whether any kind of genetically modified food is getting into the food chain or not. And we have one in ICRISAT which was established in 2004, which also monitors the entry and exit of the GM modified foods and all that. So to summarize, there is a lot of controversy and debate which goes about on the genetically modified foods and all that. No matter we like or we dislike genetically modified foods, it has entered into the food chain, it has come into the market. So probably we will have to accept with all the negative things, because nobody can surely say that the GM foods has got so many merits or so many demerits. But the truth is, it has not been unlocked till now, and future generations and future research probably can throw some light on these GM foods and all that. But one thing is for sure, that GM foods is a very valuable asset to the modern world, because it can solve some kinds of major problems. Now probably this is the one which sir was wanting to.
Because 6 speakers are there.
Yes, yes.
So my request is kindly
quickly in 5 minutes. I'm sorry for that. Okay. So how to trust them? So who is there to trust? Now in the morning, our Modi sir was talking about the headlines which make a very major issue. Especially when you claim that there is a functional food or a GM food, the media people, without understanding the problem, or without understanding what is the science behind, MSG or whatever it is, they will be creating dramatic headlines in which there might be truth, there might not be truth. But the regulators or the food industry people, scientists together should answer some kinds of questions, whether it is being authenticated, whether there are publications, authentic publications that functional or GM foods are good or not, such kind of questions. So we have to have credible nutrition research, because there is a lot of change, as was spoken in the morning. So you have some kinds of steps in the scientific method. So you have a hypothetical models, then you have some models where human populations are used, and these will be published. And once there is strong evidence only, then you can claim, if you are manufacturing any kind of functional food or a GM food and you are making some kind of claim, there are 3 kinds of evidences which are given by the scientific studies or the research and all that. One is very strong evidence which say that there is a very good agreement between the diet-disease relationship, which is supported by the clinical trials. Then there is moderate evidence which says that there is a relationship, but it is not very, very conclusive. then there is some amount of relationship, but then it is limited or not conclusive. So you have different kinds of claims which are given by the scientific studies. So if you as an industry person are using some functional ingredients or anything, you have to go by the research publications, research data, so that if there is some media or some kind of hazard which has come onto you, you should be able to be in a position to explain what is the problem with the strong or moderate or low different kinds of evidence. So to create a balance with regard to regulations or safety and all that. Okay, thank you all.